Hey kids, I'm in the kitchen and we're going to be making some fried pork sandwiches. Let me show you what we got for the cook. And it's a pork tenderloin that we're going to make into patties, but we got to prep it first. Okay, so I've gotten my tenderloin out of the package, drained the blood off of it. This is the way it's going to come. Let me show you here. But if you see this stuff right here, all of that right there, that we need to trim off and to make it to where we're right down to the meat. So I'm going to be working on both of these, trimming all this off very carefully, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, the silver skin. See this right here? This is stuff, that is just, you can't eat that. So that's what we're trimming off, to where we have nothing but just good meat left behind like this. It takes a little while to do this, but it's well worth it because your meat will then be tender and you won't be chewing on all this nasty, tough stuff. So take the time, remove the silver, make good meat. And here's a reminder, kids. Whenever you're working with raw meat or eggs, make sure you clean up really well in between steps. You do not want to be cross-contaminating, so make sure you wash your hands frequently and your work surfaces and keep it well cleaned up. It'll keep you safe. Okay, so I've gotten all of the silver skin off. I cut it into 6 portions. This is what we had left over. And most of that you don't want to eat anyway. I know it looks like it's waste, but considering you don't want to be chewing on it while you're having dinner, it's worth it. So what I've done now, since I've got those cut into what kind of size I want, I got me a piece of parchment paper and a meat mallet. And we're going to smash these guys out and getting ready for our sandwich size pieces of pork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab one of these pieces. And yes, I did wash up after I did the cutting on the meat, even though I was wearing gloves, and I sanitized my sink from where it was sitting in here. So now we're going to be using the flat side of the meat pounder. We're just going to kind of smash it out here. Get it about the desired thickness that we want there, which is about a 1/4 inch or so. I think we're going to smack it out a little bit more here. All right. So, oh yeah, that looks a lot better. It's much thinner. It'll cook faster that way. So I'm going to do that for all of these pieces here. See how thin it is? You can see how thin it is there. Take it off my parchment paper if I can do it. I'll just roll it. Okay. And set it on my plate over here for just a moment. Pound out the other ones and then get ready for the next step. Okay, so what we've got set up now is we have a station to take and get our meat prepped so that we can deep fry it. So over here we got our meat patties, and this is like a 10-inch plate. We might have to cut those a little bit smaller so they can fit on our sandwiches. Then over here we're going to have our second station, which is flour, salt and pepper, garlic, paprika, and some cayenne pepper. Then over here, we got our third station is set up. It's going to have some mustard, egg, salt, and pepper. And then our last station is going to be our pan-cooked breadcrumbs. So I'm going to get these set up and we'll start our dipping and coating. All right, so I have my stations set up. I have my meat ready. I've got my flour with salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic and cumin and paprika there. We're going to mix that together. And if you're wondering, I'm using like a breakfast plate. The only reason I'm using this is because if I make the patties about the size of my dredge station, I think it'll fit on the sandwich buns that I bought a little easier. Otherwise, I might get too carried away to make them too big. So we got that mixed up, and we'll make more of this as we need. Okay, and then I've got my second station over here, which is salt and pepper, a couple of eggs, and some Dijon mustard. And let's kind of whip this stuff together and get it all mixed up and incorporated together. Just like that. We'll get that all mixed up. Get that Dijon in with those eggs. So that's what we need, is a nice good egg wash. And this should turn out really well, I think. There we go. Now that's looking pretty good. And then my last station is my panko breadcrumbs. So what we'll do is I will get a pair of tongs and try to use those so I can keep my hands clean. And if I need to, I'll cut those up in little smaller pieces and we'll start our dredging. So this is the process. I'm just going to grab one of these here. Hopefully it'll stay together. It's a little on the big side, but it'll go right over here into our flour. Just like this. You want to get it coated really good on both sides. Yes, using your hands would be easier, but knowing that I'm also going to have to be making more dredge, I'm trying to keep my hands clean. So we got that covered up pretty good. We'll go from there into our egg wash, just like that, and get both sides covered. Like that. See, if I'd had a bigger plate, I'd have been a mess here already. Okay, and then out of this, right over into our breadcrumbs, like that. Get them coated really good on both sides. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. And then I've prepared my cutting board after I've cleaned and disinfected it, and I'm going to lay these guys out on it and have them ready for the cook. So the three-plate method worked really, really well and allowed me to make sure that I did not get the fillets too big. So, and the three-plate method worked great by using a fork in each one. Just if it's dry, use the dry one. When I take it to the wet, use the wet fork, and a pair of tongs when I flip it into the crumbs. So I'm going to set this in the fridge until we get ready to cook it. Okay, so I'm back. The meat has been in the fridge for about an hour or so. I've got on the stove, that's another project. I've got on the stove a big cast iron pan. Let me show you. I've got about an inch or so of some oil heating in there. It's just a neutral type oil. I've got actually canola oil in this one here. I'm going to warm it up, get my meat out of the freezer. When we start seeing bubbles, we're going to start pan frying our meat. Alright, so I went and got the meat out of the fridge. There it is. Like that. And I've got one that was cut really tiny. We're just going to lay it in there gentle. Oh yeah, the oil is hot enough. Good. We can put a couple more in. Just lay it in gently and aim it away from you. You don't want to put in too many at one time because that will cool your oil off. So I think maybe I'm just going to put in 3 and let those cook. And then add some more as we go along. So here we have it. I'm putting in this as a second batch. I'm trying to watch really careful not to overcoat the pan. And you can see they're starting to disappear over there. And here, I laid out some paper towels onto my 9x13 cast iron. And I did an internal temperature check on these to make sure that they were at least 160 on the inside. So we're doing good. We're just going to keep boogieing right along cooking these guys, and I'll show you what they look like when they're all done. Okay kids, so I have the meat done. Let me show you how we put together the sandwich. So what I have is a Dave's bun, only because that's what I like. On 1/2 of the Dave's bun, we're going to put some sandwich spread because it's got a little bit of pickles in it. Just like that. On the other half of the sandwich, I'm going to put a little bit of Duke's mayonnaise, like yay, like that. And some lettuce. I like romaine, so that's what I'm using. A little bit more romaine. Just like that. I'm going to grab my pieces of pork, put them on my sandwich like that. I'm going to have a couple pieces. Like that. And then we add this, which is Sriracha Honey. We just drizzle it right on top of all that right there like that. You can put as much as you want. I like the sweet and the heat. Well, there you go. That's it. Enjoy.